Hi, my name is Bente, I'm the Norse Witch, and in today's video we are going to discuss ADHD and witchcraft. As some of you may know, I was diagnosed earlier this year, but some of you were sensing the ADHD in me already for a long time. I got a lot of comments always being like, oh, I think you have ADHD, whenever I talked about some struggles that I have. So those of you who commented saying I probably have ADHD, you were right, congratulations. With that, I also realized that without knowing that I was kind of working around my ADHD, I did. I actually amassed some tips and tricks to work around ADHD when it comes to witchcraft, because there's just some things that are a little bit trickier when you have ADHD, or of course in general when you are neurodivergent, not only when you have ADHD. Before we continue, you may see that I changed my room a little bit and now I'm sitting next to a window, so the sun will probably come around pretty soon and then I will look like this. So if I have a huge sunny glare on my left side, there is nothing I can do about it right now because I don't have any curtain. That will be something that is going onto my wish list. I will get some curtains. But yeah, without further ado, let's talk ADHD and witchcraft. Okay, first of all, this is the thing that was, I think, the most important thing for me when it came to dealing with my ADHD in general, but especially with witchcraft, because you see so many like, oh, my witchy morning routine and this routine, evening routine, you should do this and that every single day or every single week, or you see other people doing something every single full or new moon routines. You see them everywhere, and I think that's just a social media thing. Like, everyone is just about being as productive as possible, and with that also comes like routines and stuff, and you see that everywhere. And I personally really struggled with the fact that I just couldn't keep up with a routine. I would figure out a new routine and then I would stick to that maybe a week or two, and then I would abandon the routine again. For me, that was a big mindset thing. I was really shaming myself a lot for not being able to keep up with a routine. I really had to figure out that I'm just not a routine person, that just doesn't work for me. I actually figured that out, I think like last year. I actually made a video about that, so I will link that up here if you want to watch it. It's kind of a rambly little video where I talk about just abandoning all of my routines and how that just works for me. I had to figure out that I'm not a routine person. That's just an ADHD trait. Keeping up with routines and anything that you try to do regularly is really hard, and a lot of people just beat themselves up about it. And especially when you hear everyone constantly just being like, oh yeah, you have to meditate every single day and you have to cast your protection spells every single full moon and do divination every single new moon. There's just this huge emphasis on routines and doing things regularly. And while I totally agree that doing things regularly is important, because with every single skill, and witchcraft is also a skill, or let's say there are different kinds of skills in witchcraft that you can train. Of course you have to do things regularly. If you do something once every half a year, you can't really expect yourself to get any better. So of course I understand that you have to do things regularly to kind of get better at it. At the same time, there's this huge emphasis on doing things very often, and I just bet myself up about it a lot because I couldn't do it. I did do stuff semi-regularly. At least I did something like once a month or once a week or something. And of course that meant that I was developing my skills a little bit slower, but that's just how life is for me and probably for a lot of people with ADHD. So that was the first thing. That was, I think, for me the most important thing, was a mindset shift, to realize that I will scrap routines. Routines don't work for me. If I try to stick to proper, like very harsh routines, that won't work. I will just beat myself up because I will not stick to them. So I'm just not doing routines anymore. That's just how life is. Just realize that routines are not for you and you will probably never be able to properly stick to a routine, and that's fine. You can work around that. Okay, next up, speaking about routines and doing things regularly, set timers and reminders for every single thing. It doesn't matter how minuscule it is. If you want to try to meditate regularly, maybe once a day or something, set reminders. Set yourself a reminder that beeps on your phone every single morning at the same time to just remind you that you have to do it, because otherwise you will just forget. The same applies especially to things that you don't do daily, but that you want to do maybe every single full moon or something like that, because you will forget that it is a full moon and you will forget that it is a new moon. That's just a sad reality, you will not remember that, or it's very, very likely that you will forget about it. I try to, at the beginning of the year, write down every single full moon, new moon, every single holiday that I want to celebrate, any important dates basically, and I will put them all on my private calendar, and then I will set reminders that I will be reminded maybe like a week before, and then 2 days before, 1 day before, and then on the day. A lot of reminders that will annoy the shit out of me, but they are important because I will just forget. And if I just set a reminder on the day, for example for a holiday or something, that doesn't really work because sometimes I need something, like some material. If I want to perform a ritual, for example, and I don't have the offerings, I don't want to do that the same day. So I want to make it as easy for me as possible. So if I remind myself a couple of days beforehand, I will already know, okay, now I have to buy my material for the ritual, and then on the day I will get a reminder that I will perform the ritual. That is the sad reality. I will forget about anything, so I will just set reminders for everything. And the same applies to, for example, let's say I'm burning a candle for someone, like I'm giving an offering, burning some candles, and then I'm doing something else. I have to set a timer because I will forget that I have candles burning, even if they are in the same room. I will forget that I have candles burning. If I, for example, hyper focus on something else, I will forget about the candles. So I will always set timers for me to blow out the candles, because otherwise I will forget, and that is very dangerous. You just have to kind of pre-plan for the fact that you will forget literally everything. That's why I sadly have like Alexas in every single room, so that I can easily just set myself timers and reminders without really having to even pick up my phone, you know, it's just simple. I have to make it as simple for me as possible. Next up, something that a lot of people are always worried about, that is slumps. If you have ADHD, then you will not only experience slumps, but you will experience losing interest in something a lot. Even if witchcraft is like a huge thing for you, you will sometimes get to a point where your brain just tells you, this is not important anymore, this is not interesting anymore, I will not give you dopamine for doing this thing. And with that comes you losing interest in it. Some people are very, very afraid that they will just completely abandon witchcraft because your ADHD brain just tells you this is not important anymore, so let's just roll on to something different. And while that of course is possible, I think if you are a witch and you really feel it, like it's really a part of you, I don't think you will completely abandon witchcraft. Witchcraft is such a broad topic that you can always find something new that's interesting and exciting, and that will give you all of the dopamine that you need. So what I always try to do whenever I experience a slump like that, where my brain tells me, this is not interesting anymore, let's do something else, I will kind of try to spice it up. What usually happens is you do something for quite a long time, and you are very excited about it, maybe you hyper-focus on it, you will do it a lot, and then your brain is like, okay, I'm done with this, let's do the next thing. And of course this also happens in witchcraft. What I try to do is I will just switch gears, I will do something else, but still in the witchcraft spheres. For example, if I've researched herbs for a long time, and then my brain is like, no, herbs, that's not it anymore, let's do something else, then maybe I will switch to a different topic, or maybe I will start making things, like making an incense blend, making a candle, or making something, so that I'm going from the more academic brain to the making of things. That also sometimes works. I would just try to find something else. What also works for me is not only getting into a different topic, but also maybe trying an entirely different practice. So if you are a folk practitioner or more of a low magic practitioner, then maybe you could spice it up by getting into ceremonial magic, trying if that excites you, or getting into chaos magic, trying if that excites you. So you can try out different magical practices. And also something very physical that helps me a lot is rearranging stuff. I oftentimes get very excited again when I have a new space to work in, hence why I rearranged my room, I guess. Try to maybe rearrange your witchy workspace, whatever you call it. Maybe you could set it up in a completely different space. Maybe that will spice things up enough. Maybe you could, and yes, I know that's very capitalistic thinking, but maybe you could buy something that excites you again. Sometimes that works, at least for me, because the buying gives you the dopamine. Just make sure that you also use that thing afterwards, because otherwise that's just a waste of money. But rearrange something, make it look interesting again for your brain. Whatever you do, if you get into a slump, try to spice things up, to trick your brain into thinking you're doing something new, even though it's not something new. I'm trying to scoot as far back as I can. I'm hiding from the sun. So if I look like this, that's why. My ADHD manifests in a very, very bad memory. If that is also a struggle of yours, write your ideas down immediately. Like, it happens so much that I just do something completely different. I'm like maybe meditating, or I'm taking a shower, or I'm taking a walk or something. And then I just have a random brilliant idea for a spell, for a tool, for an incense blend, for whatever, for a new thing I could try. And then I will think about it. I will be like, oh, this is great. And then I will go through it a lot in my brain and think about it the entire, let's say, walk outside. And I will be very excited about it. And then I go back and I'm back home. And either I will just completely forget, or my brain will be like, this is like a context switch. I can't do this right now because I'm overwhelmed by context switching. So let's just not do it. Let's just like sit down and doom scroll or something. And then I will forget. So what I have learned is I have to have a list of ideas, so that whenever I have an idea where I'm like, oh, this is a genius idea, I have to do this, or I have to make this, or I have to try this, I have to write it down so that I don't forget about it. And if I have the energy to get to it later, or maybe if I'm in a slump, then maybe it can excite me again, I have a list that I can easily go through, and I can just see whatever I want to do from the list. Again, just pre-plan for the fact that you will forget. I know lists can also be forgotten about, but if that is something that you worry about, that you will just forget about your list of ideas, put it somewhere where you can see it. Like, make an actually paper list and put it on your door or something, somewhere where you can easily see it. If you walk through that door every single day, you will see it. Next up is about something that I hear a lot. I always hear people say, I have ADHD, I can't meditate. First of all, that's wrong. You can meditate. You for sure just have the wrong idea about what meditating is and what the goal is. The goal is not to completely stop thinking. That's literally impossible. That's also impossible for neurotypical people. That's not just an ADHD thing. You literally can't not think. The goal is to become an observer of your thoughts. The goal is to observe a thought coming in and then just abandon it, instead of hopping onto that thought and then continuing actively to think about it. And also another fact is that even though, yes, it is way harder for people with ADHD to meditate, because we have like triple the monkey brain. Like, normal people already have monkey brain, and then ADHD people have like triple the monkey brain. And then there's also ADHD people who not only have like a hyperactive brain, but also are bodily hyperactive. What I have found out that really helps is either meditating with a stimming toy. Probably good to not have like a very loud one, but one that you can like easily slide through your fingers or just like fiddle with, or moving while meditating. I have talked about this quite a lot, but what I do a lot when I meditate is that I do like, ooh, here comes the sun. Is that I do like a swaying motion like this. I'm not a very hyperactive type ADHD person. I'm more hyperactive in here, but movement still really helps giving yourself the stimulation that you need to calm down your brain, because a lot of the times you can only focus if you are stimulated the perfect amount. When I was diagnosed, the therapist explained it to me in a way where if this is an axis, a normal person has like a graph of this, where it's like if you're not at all stimulated, you can't focus, and then it gets better, and then if you're overstimulated, you can't focus anymore. And for an ADHD person, the graph is just like squished. You have to have like a very, very specific amount of stimulation to be able to focus, which is more than a neurotypical person needs, but it also can't be too much, because then you get overstimulated. And I think with like stimming toys and just moving while you're trying to meditate or focus on something just really helps to give you like this boost of a little bit more stimulation to put you in this place where you can more easily focus and calm down better. And that also works with walking meditations or any kind of movement-based meditation. Also, if you are hyper-focusing on something, you can use that to meditate. Meditation doesn't have to be sitting down and not thinking and focusing on your breath. Meditation can also be something like crocheting or doing embroidery. If you do anything with your hands basically, and you really hyper-focus on it and you get into this flow state, that's also a type of meditation. So if you have something that you really, really like doing, that you can like really calm down while you're doing it because you're doing something with your hands, then do that and try to meditate while you're doing it. That will really help. And yes, you can meditate with your eyes open. I just really want to emphasize that just because you have ADHD doesn't mean you can't meditate. Meditation is actually extremely helpful for people with ADHD because it does help train you to be calmer and to be more focused. So while it is very, very tricky to do and it is very hard, you can do it. And a lot of people always tell me if you have ADHD, you should meditate because it really helps. When I was diagnosed, I was also told, meditate, it will help. So just because you have ADHD doesn't mean you can't do it. Next up is another thing that I actually also made a video on where so many of you called me out that I probably have ADHD, but I wasn't diagnosed yet. And that is I call it a witchy task jar, but it's more of an idea jar. I don't know. Here's the video. I will put it here. It is basically just a jar where you put little snippets of paper and then you write ideas on it that you could do while in a pinch. For example, you want to do something that revolves around witchcraft, but you don't know what. Because, for example, you are currently in a big executive dysfunction period. I have that a lot. I can't relax. I can do a lot of things that I know I have to do, like stuff around the house. I know I have to do them, so it's easy for me to do them. But once I have free time, I really struggle with doing stuff, like doing productive stuff, doing stuff for my witchcraft practice, for example, because I just run into this executive dysfunction and I can't really get myself out of it because it's just overwhelming. Like there is not something I have to do anymore. So it's like I can't really do anything. It's really sucky. I came up with this idea that I just create a jar and I just write down different things that I could do, like meditate, do like a spirit journey, or research an herb or a deity, or little tasks like that you can basically do any day. And then I just put them in a jar, and whenever I feel like I'm overwhelmed, I want to do something but I can't decide on what because I'm in this executive dysfunction loop, I will just pick something from the jar and then I will just do it. And usually when you have finally made this context switch from okay, this is downtime, but I don't know what to do, I'm overwhelmed, let me just doom scroll for half an hour, to okay, I am doing something. Usually, after doing this one task from the jar, you will be more motivated, or at least I am, more motivated and able to do something else that revolves around my practice. So that is something that I really, really recommend. Also to people who don't have ADHD, but of course it stems from ADHD. Okay, another important thing that's also more of a mindset thing, learn to ride the motivation wave. This kind of also goes along with the fact that you kind of have to befriend the thought or the fact that you are not a routine person. You will get into these slumps, they will arise, it's just unavoidable. But beating yourself up about it also doesn't help. So if you get into a slump like that, I always say, just take the break. Trying to resist that just takes so much energy that it doesn't really make sense. At least I'm a person who can't really pull themselves out of that situation. I just have to try to spice things up, but forcing something, if it really doesn't work, then it won't work. What I realized is that just embracing the fact that I will do a lot of things while I'm motivated, while I get dopamine from my practice, and while I have the energy also, but I will then also have the slump times where I do literally nothing for my practice. And that is just what my practice looks like because that is the person that I am. I really had to befriend that thought because it's a fact and I can't change it. I bet myself up about it literally for years, but it didn't get me anywhere. So I just kind of had to make peace with that fact. And since I have made peace with that fact, it has gotten so much easier because now I'm just like, oh yeah, my brain just tells me I'm not into it right now, so I will just not. And of course, that's not just an ADHD thing. I don't know if you have chronic illness and you have a flare-up, you can't do something, it's the same thing. Beating yourself up about it and still trying to push yourself through it won't help anyone. It won't help you because it expends a lot of your energy and then afterwards you're probably just exhausted and you won't get any positive effect from it. So it's not just an ADHD thing, but I think ADHD people tend to really beat themselves up whenever they kind of abandon a half-finished project or something like that. But just remind yourself that that is just your reality and you have to kind of work with it instead of against it. So maybe you can just say to yourself, okay, you know what? Yes, I have this half-finished project lying around right here. It's not like I will never get back to it. It's just that right now I'm not excited about it, so I will switch to something else. And then maybe I will get into it when I am motivated again. I think that is what I want to end with. I think that was 7 points. I think 7 is a nice magical number. Please, if you are also a neurodivergent witch and you have tips or advice for anyone, then please put them in the comments. Getting more input from people who have been diagnosed for a long time and who maybe also went to therapy for their ADHD struggles. That, of course, does also help me a lot. So if you have tips or advice, then I would be very, very, very happy if you would put them in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you a little bit. Tell me in the comments if you tried any of the tips and they helped, because that would be amazing. If you did like the video, then make sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up and ring the bell down below so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Feel free to check out my Instagram account for more of my private shenanigans. And also, if you want to support the channel, then check out my Patreon or my YouTube membership. And with that being said, I will see you in another video. Bye!